This deceiving scenery hides one of the world's most dangerous flashpoints, a brewing and ongoing conflict between two nuclear-armed rivals. The ridge on the right is in India and the one on the left is in Pakistan. The two neighbors have fought 3 wars over Kashmir, and the latest crisis has once again highlighted 72 years of failure in finding a solution for Kashmiris.
The stage was set for British rule to give...
After the two countries gained independence from British rule in 1947, the Maharaja of Muslim-majority Kashmir decided to accede to India. That did not sit well with the local population in Pakistan, and the two countries and their militias had their first war over Kashmir. In 1948, a UN resolution and later mutual agreements formed a ceasefire line, or what's now called the line of control. On the 5th of August, Prime Minister Narendra Modi's government made a dramatic decision. It nullified the partial autonomy in the part of Kashmir it oversees. To stem anticipated protests, India locked down the region with additional troop reinforcements and severed all its outside links, including phones and the internet. That caused a predictable uproar in neighbouring Pakistan, which also claims Kashmir. Islamabad strongly disagrees with New Delhi's insistence that the constitutional changes are an internal matter. In response, Pakistan's parliament decided to cut trade with India, downgrade diplomatic ties, and suspend bus and train services. But it has also revealed an internal split inside Pakistan's political system as to how to respond. The United Nations has urged all sides to refrain from changing the status of Kashmir, and Pakistan plans to take the issue to the UN Security Council with the help of its ally China, which also has a claim on a different part of the disputed Kashmir Himalayan region. The tough talk has direct impact on millions of people on both sides of the so-called line of control, the unofficial border which separates the two sides. The question now, will Pakistan be able to neutralize the Indian move? Can diplomacy defuse tensions? Will other big powers such as China get involved? And if so, what could this mean for Kashmiris? Today, 3 important people on the Pakistani side, the country's foreign minister, the president of Pakistan-administered Kashmir, and a vocal opposition leader, give their views on Talk to Al Jazeera. The son of former Prime Minister Benazir Bhutto and former President Asif Ali Zardari is the chairman of Pakistan People's Party. He is critical of both the Indian and his own government.
I wish that while condemning the human rights abuses in Maqbuza Kashmir, or the attack on press freedoms in occupied Kashmir, I wish I was speaking from a moral ground, a moral high ground. And I would be speaking from a moral high ground if my own government was not restricting some human rights and media freedoms in Pakistan. But having said that, we can't equate our concerns about the curtailment of democracy in Pakistan with the military occupation by an extremist Hindutva government, by the man seen as the butcher of Gujarat, over the people of Kashmir. I mean, no matter our own flaws, no matter our own weaknesses, we have to talk for those who cannot talk for themselves. And at the moment, there is a total media blackout in occupied Kashmir. The whole political leadership in occupied Kashmir, whether those who used to boycott the electoral process and advocated for a freedom movement, or those who took part in elections, who served as chief ministers even under the BJP's own government, all have been rounded up and put under arrest. So it is who's left to talk for the people of Kashmir if the people of Azad Kashmir do not talk out, if the people of Pakistan do not talk out? I can't pretend that I don't wish my government was fighting a more passionate case, a more convincing case, a more powerful case.
But that case is strong, according to Sardar Masood Khan, the president of Pakistan-administered Kashmir.
Do you think Pakistan has a case?
Pakistan has a case, and the people of Jammu and Kashmir have a case. In fact, India has committed aggression in the recent weeks against the people of Jammu and Kashmir. They have invaded the territory. They inducted additional 180,000 troops to brutalize Kashmiris. So do we have a case? Of course we have a case, and everybody knows that the Indian occupied Kashmir has been under occupation for the past 72 years, and India has made this fresh move to colonize the territory of Kashmir. Do we have a case? Yes, we do, because the issue of Jammu and Kashmir is on the agenda of the United Nations Security Council, and we have a case because there are several resolutions which have mandated that the future of the Jammu and Kashmir dispute should be decided in accordance with the aspirations of the people of Jammu and Kashmir through a referendum to be supervised by the United Nations. Do we have a case? Yes, we have.
Just as India has a strong strategic ally in the United States, Pakistan needs allies to highlight their case as well. And Foreign Minister Shah Mahmood Qureshi recently visited Beijing and returned home with support from the Chinese government.
As a first step, I thought it was necessary to consult with our ally, someone who's stood with Pakistan consistently and is one of the P5 members, that's China. So I, with a delegation, to meet with the Chinese leadership, and I have come back with satisfaction that they completely understand and endorse our point of view. They've considered the Indian action as unilateral, unlawful, and they feel that the matter should be resolved under the UN Charter and according to the applicable Security Council resolutions. So they have endorsed our point of view. They are equally concerned about the peace and security of the region.
During the Muslim festival of Eid, in a rare show of bipartisan solidarity, Qureshi and Bilawal prayed with Kashmiris on Pakistan's side of the border. But internal divisions remain, and the political opposition is critical of how the government handled India's constitutional changes.
Do you agree that Pakistan should be doing more, and do you think that a divided opposition and the ruling party sends the right message?
I don't think that the division between the ruling party and the opposition sends the right message at all. There's a sense that the action taken is too little too late. For example, we see that the government of Pakistan is following, not leading. But it's not a time for us to be nitpicking. We in the opposition have extended and will continue to extend our support to the people of Kashmir and do whatever we can in our limited capacity.
But there is also concern on the Pakistani side as well. I've spent the day at the line of control talking to ordinary Kashmiris who feel that Pakistan perhaps has not done enough. That is something that was shared on the parliament's floor by the opposition as well, where the Prime Minister said that Pakistan cannot go to war. What would you tell them which will satisfy them that Pakistan is doing all it can for the Kashmir issue?
To begin with, why am I here? To give a message of solidarity. I represent the government of Pakistan, and I am here with the permission of the Prime Minister of Pakistan. I discussed it with him last night, and he said, by all means, you must go and show solidarity. He himself is coming.
What else can Pakistan do? If you share the feeling of Kashmiris that they feel let down, what else do you think that the government can do?
I do share the feeling that they feel let down. I don't necessarily want to dwell on the criticism, but as I said earlier, I think that the people of Kashmir are looking to leadership. And they're looking for the Prime Minister of Pakistan to speak to their emotions and to speak to the crisis and take concrete actions, not react, not 5 days later decide to take any reciprocal action with India, which is unfortunately what we saw in this situation, but would have preferred immediate action and would absolutely have preferred for more of a consensus, for more bipartisan approach. I mean, the Prime Minister chose to arrest the former Prime Minister, Mr. Nawaz Sharif's daughter, right in the middle of this crisis. Now, these are very divisive tactics of the Prime Minister of Pakistan, but I don't choose to dwell on those. At the moment, what I believe is important is for us to all speak out, for those who can't speak out for themselves because they can't come before your cameras, because they've not been allowed, because they don't know how their relatives are doing, whether those relatives are living abroad or those relatives are living in other states of India. They don't know how their blood relatives are doing in Kashmir. So that's a humanitarian crisis. That's a genuine concern.
As the president of Pakistan-administered Kashmir, do you think Pakistan has done enough?
We thank the people of Pakistan and the government of Pakistan and the parliament of Pakistan for the steps that they have already taken and the solidarity that they have expressed with the occupied territory, particularly its people. So we want to thank them. they have started a process of initiatives. Let's watch how India responds or chooses not to respond. And then the response of the state of Pakistan would develop. So I don't think that these are the final word. And yes, it is natural that the people in the street should expect more. But as you must have heard from other government officials, that Pakistan firmly believes that there should be a diplomatic and political solution. We do not go down the path of warmongering. We do not want to stoke war hysteria as India has done. So Pakistan is showing restraint and responsibility, but at the same time it is proactive. It is reaching out to the United Nations Security Council, other international forums, and there would be additional measures which would restrict or punish what India has done.
The people of Pakistan stand shoulder to shoulder with the people of Kashmir. As far as domestic politics is concerned, the various political parties obviously have their differences. But when it comes to the issue of Kashmir, we all stand united. And whether it's the Prime Minister, the opposition leader, or myself in my speech in the National Assembly, we time and time again emphasized on the fact that we're willing to stand together and stand united for the people of Kashmir.
India says that it is proof that Pakistan was harboring terrorists and groups which are a threat to the Indian state. How do you respond to that when India says that it is in response to what Pakistan was doing?
This is India's hobby horse. This is falsehood and fabrication that they have been selling to the rest of the world. Yes, there was a time when we call them freedom fighters. They used to go across the line of control because Kashmiris were being killed. This was in the early 1990s. But since then, particularly after 2003, 2004, that practice came to an end. And India has practically sealed the border. What the Indians are really afraid of are not these 250 militants, as they call them, militants, but millions of Kashmiris who come to the squares and streets and chant the slogan very loudly, "Go India, go back, leave our Kashmir." They are afraid of this peaceful, powerful political movement which rejects India's writ and occupation. So what I'm saying here, that this suits them to sell this narrative to the entire world, which is worried about the threat of terrorism, which was faced by Pakistan also. Pakistan has faced that menace, and it has grappled with this menace and is succeeding in opposing terrorism and dismantling terrorist networks.
We are fearing that to divert world attention from the atrocities that are being committed in Indian-occupied Kashmir, the Indians might undertake a false flag operation and then twist events and distort events and say, this was cross-border terrorism. The Pulwama 2, that staged drama that they did in February. They would try and create some kind of a situation to divert world attention. And that is why we are saying that on that pretext, they might do something stupid, what they have done already. That was a stupid move in our view. It was a rash move in our view. And we're going to tell the world. It's a responsibility.
The divisions that we see in Pakistan, do you think that could be one of the reasons why there hasn't been a rallying cry, so to speak, for Kashmir as Pakistan wanted? Even your allies, such as the United Arab Emirates, has said that it is, their ambassador says that it is an internal matter for India.
I'm grateful that the OIC contact group has issued a statement. I see that the Prime Minister is reaching out to world leaders. I don't expect every world leader to take our stance, but it is important to reach out and to advocate for what is going on.
Why do you think that Pakistan's version of events is not being heard?
Don't go by India's explanations or interpretations, because you would recall that when President Trump had offered mediation, India had said that it's a bilateral matter They didn't say that it was an internal matter, that the Jammu and Kashmir dispute was a bilateral matter. And here I ask, when they took these unilateral measures, did they ask Pakistan, the other party to the dispute, or the people of Jammu and Kashmir? Let me tell you that the international response is evolving, it is developing. China was quite forthcoming, so was Turkey. I was in Norway. I find support within civil society. Swedish foreign minister has expressed her concern. European Parliament, the British Parliament, some of the major British political parties, they have sent communications to the United Nations Secretary General and the President of the Security Council.
Mr. Qureshi, the international response to this, according to many international observers, has been muted at best. The United Nations Secretary General urged both sides to refrain from changing the status of Kashmir. The Emirati ambassador went out and said that it is an internal matter for the Indian government. So is the Pakistani government running out of options diplomatically to try and come to some sort of a solution?
Not at all. I think the options are just beginning. In fact, India, by being obstinate and not accepting Pakistan's offer of a bilateral engagement to resolve this issue through peaceful negotiations, miscalculated. So it's an evolving situation. Pakistan is watching the situation carefully, and so is the world. The statement of the Secretary General of the UN is a very balanced and a very correct statement. He has said that this issue should be resolved under the UN Charter and applicable Security Council resolutions. I think that's a very encouraging statement. The support offered to Pakistan by China, that they are with us all the way, is very encouraging. And Prime Minister Imran Khan is reaching out to world leaders. I'm contacting different foreign ministers. For example, I spoke to the Kuwaiti foreign minister this morning. He was very supportive, very encouraging. So it is building up. In many countries, European countries, when I spoke to the High Representative of the European Union, Federica Mogherini, she was concerned on the humanitarian issue, the human rights violations.
It doesn't matter how many countries stand with us. It doesn't matter who believes us. What matters is what is right. And what is right is that for 70 years, the people of Kashmir have been promised that they will be able to decide their own destiny. Is for 70 years we've been told that the people of Kashmir will have a referendum and they will choose. We're saying that allow for the people to exercise their democratic rights. So if the world believes in democracy, if the world believes in the freedom of choice, then the world should support the people of Kashmir, with the people of Kashmir on the right side of history.
What gives you hope that it is not going to be the status quo this time around when you go to the UN Security Council and your allies, that something is going to change?
Pakistan has no choice, and the people of Jammu and Kashmir have no choice. India has altered the status quo already because it has invaded Kashmir and it is trying to annex the territory, and it is brutalizing the Kashmir. It was already committing crimes against humanity and human rights violations. India is now taking them to a different level. This is an existential threat, I'd like to say, for both the people of Pakistan and Kashmir. We have no choice but to go back to the United Nations Security Council. And yes, there is a realpolitik, but we want to do diplomatic diligence to alter that, because nothing is a given. Despite India's clout in the international community,
there's a communication blackout. Journalists are not being allowed in, so the news is not filtering out. There's absolute confusion, uncertainty. One is hearing of food shortages. One is hearing of non-availability of medicines. My biggest fear is the genocide that can take place on the Indian side of Kashmir.
Of which we have no evidence as yet.
Well, open up. You are here. Did anybody stop you? You went to the LOC, you met people, you're interviewing people. Will they allow you there? Why don't you attempt and try, after having been here, go and make a request to the Indian side and let them allow you to go to Srinagar to meet the leadership over there. Will they allow you? I doubt it. So we have nothing to fear, we have nothing to hide.
It seems like Pakistan is running out of options on this.
I don't think that we're running out of options. I don't think that you can change the fate of a nation by changing what's written on paper. The people living within Kashmir, they are more insecure today as they were before. They don't know what's going to happen in their future. And not only the citizens of Kashmir, in fact, the Muslim citizens all across India, the minorities all across India are suddenly more insecure. It's not only Kashmir that had special status that protected their land from being bought out by people living in other states. Other Indian states believe that as well. So this undemocratic attack on the people of Kashmir will have severe consequences. It will have severe consequences on India, an India that's choosing to move away from its 70 years secular democracy towards a fascist, extremist Hindutva government.
Today in India, you have a regime which has a fascist mentality. That Nazi approach that they have is that RSS mentality. This is the political wing of the RSS, and that is of great concern to Pakistan. Innocent people being attacked, killed, raped, maimed, and through the pellet guns, losing eyesight.
We say that this is a disputed territory. So who has annexed the territory? We haven't.
Is there a fear that this could lead to an escalation where it would go to a point of no return?
There are two nuclear armed states, and we think a war is not a solution. It's mutual suicide. That's never been an option. Our response, even in February, was defensive in nature. We were not aggressive. So we are going to articulate our case diplomatically, politically, and we will look at the legal options. We will see, besides the Security Council, what options do we have.
Is that your concern, that these two nuclear armed neighbors could go to war? Because you would be essentially on the front lines if that happens.
Anything can happen. There can be miscalculations, but before miscalculations, India has taken escalatory steps. In February this year, Indian Prime Minister had threatened Pakistan with the use of nuclear weapons. And at that time, we had said that he doesn't know what he's talking about. But if he takes that step, then that would mean a nuclear Armageddon and a nuclear winter, not just for South Asia, but for the entire world. And there would be outflows of refugees, and there would be global recession and so on. There are many consequences that would be there for the entire international community.
I am a great believer in democratic peace theory. I don't believe that democracies go to war, but I also know that neither India nor Pakistan are functioning as practicing democracies at the moment.
It's an extreme situation. It could lead towards extreme reactions. I hope that would not happen, because Pakistan, as I said earlier, believes, and the people of Jammu and Kashmir firmly believe, that you cannot have a military solution to the Jammu and Kashmir dispute. You will have to explore political and diplomatic avenues.
President Masood Khan of Pakistan-administered Kashmir, thank you very much for talking to Al Jazeera.
Thank you. It has been a pleasure to talk to you.